Stephen Brown joins me today on People I Know show. Hello, Stephen. Good morning.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And as you and I know, this conversation came together just within the last few hours. I'd been watching your Facebook feed. It popped up. I don't know how often I've seen it in the past few years, but it popped up recently because you posted a few times about the loss of your friend, coach, mentor, so many things to you. And I don't really know that much about your connection, but that's why I wanted to have you on. John Altobelli and his wife and daughter passing away with Kobe Bryant and others in the helicopter crash a couple weeks ago. There's so many ways to begin this. First off, sorry for you and for everyone that was close to them. Can you explain, as the rest of the world was hearing this news, how it hit you that you knew someone very close on that same helicopter that day?
Yeah, man. It was just a shock when I heard about it. But I've known Coach Altobelli and his family pretty much half my life. I was 18 years old when I met him, played for him at Orange Coast College. Then after I was done playing, I got to coach with him in the Cape Cod League in Massachusetts. We went out there, had a great time. But yeah, ever since I got in the realm of coaching college baseball, we literally talked once, twice a month for the last 15 years of my life. And every time I would come home to California to recruit or, just spend time, I would always stop by his house, hang out with him and the family. So the connection was strong. The connection was really strong with Alto, Keri and Alyssa. And it's been an up and down roller coaster here for the last 2 weeks. I mean, a little over 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago Sunday was when the crash happened.
And as of last night, as we're recording this, I saw that you were obviously at the public memorial for the three of them. And I saw some images. It's hard to tell because it was at Angel Stadium, and that place holds 40,000 people. And it seemed to be a big section of the third base side. I don't know if a few thousand people might have been there, or how would you describe that setting? Both like how many people are there kind of, and how long it lasted, and what that was like.
It was awesome. The minute I got out of the car, I had chills. Because, Angel Stadium it's a huge major league park, and they designated an area. There was probably, I would say, close to 5,000 to 7,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And everybody, I mean, it was open to the public. Every baseball team that is a part of the Orange Empire Conference, the conference that OCC plays in, was there. All the players, coaches, family. I mean, it was awesome. It lasted about almost 2 hours with the speakers coming up. And I mean, they had a great tribute video. They had Alyssa's and one video for college basketball recruiting, which was really cool. She was a baller. But it was special, man. I was so glad that me and my wife flew out here for it, to be with JJ and Lexi and see them and then all my former teammates. I mean, everybody was there. Everybody. It was great.
I always find with death and funerals, although I don't obviously like going to funerals or memorial services, it's at that point that I feel like, okay, as much as maybe I don't want to, I have to move on, and I feel like I can start to move on. Would you describe it at all in that way, having been there and seen all the people that you saw yesterday?
Yeah. Part of me felt relieved, because I coaching in Georgia, I felt like I was in my own little bubble when all this was going down, dealing with former teammates and friends and family, and, they're all still here in Southern California. So it was great to get out here, give JJ a hug, give Lexi a hug, tell them I love them, and see all my former coaches and teammates and stuff like that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because me and Alto had a relationship to where if I was struggling with something baseball related, I called him, and he's been doing this a lot longer than I have, and he was the best. So any advice I got from him was much needed. And it's going to be tough not be able to get on the phone and ask him a baseball question.
So many episodes of my podcast are about people that I've known or I've met that have impacted me in some big way that I wanted to share. you and I, as we'll get into, we don't know each other that well. We crossed paths a few times, probably almost a decade ago. But I feel
Yeah.
like this episode is an opportunity for you to share some of the moments, some of the stories, some of the lessons you learned from Coach Alto as a way of doing what I like to do, sharing stories, and people, you get to share with him being gone, some of the things that you will carry forward with him. So when I bring that up in that way, what's one or two things that comes to mind immediately?
The first one with him on the coaching side is consistency. He was always the most consistent person. His work ethic, I think, has embedded in my brain, because I remember my freshman year at Coast, we had class at 8 a.m. and parking is horrendous at OCC. There's so many people that go to school there. So you would have to get to the parking lot at about 7:10 in the morning. And I remember I came in one time, traffic was real bad. I came in one time through the baseball side, and Alto was out on the drag at 7:00 in the morning, dragging the infield, and we didn't have practice till 1:00, but he was out there working on the field. He would do that, then go teach a class, then come back, work on the field. And his work ethic was unbelievable. And that's something that I pride myself in now as a coach. I want to be the first guy there, last guy to leave type person like he was.
So as a coach, you came up with him and being a player under him, but so much in the past several years, it's I'm sure the personal connection grew to the point that you had that way of contacting him and him contacting you, or however that worked, for so many years, as frequently as you described. So what else about it on the personal level, what else about him really stands out as the big thing that you'll carry forward?
He was a guy's guy, and you could talk to him about anything. It didn't have to always be baseball. It was life. And then as I got older, hanging out with him more, seeing him raise a family, that is something that I took away big time. Was he was an unbelievable husband, number one. He was an unbelievable father. I mean, he would do anything for his kids. And that inspired me to move forward and become a husband, because me and him talked about that all the time. And he goes, you get blessed with kids. He goes, then your life changes for the better always, because now you got people that you have to look out over that mean everything to you. And, he was just such a leader. I mean, that's the biggest thing. He was a leader. He wasn't fake. He didn't try to coach a certain way. He coached the Alto way, which is one thing that I will take forever, for sure.
This came together so quickly this morning that I didn't even get a chance to double check something I wanted to. It was, I had heard or read he had won an award for like Coach of the Year. Can you describe what that was precisely, and maybe what that meant to him, if you know?
Yeah. So every year, the American Baseball Coaches Association has a convention. And, this year there was I want to say 8,000 attendees from all over the country and all over the world. And it was in Nashville, Tennessee. And Alto got recognized as National Coach of the Year for the junior college division.
So that was 2020 that he got that award this year? Or is it
this year? Yeah. This year, it was this January. So he was on stage with Tim Corbin from Vanderbilt, and all these amazing coaches. And, just to see him walk across that stage and get that award was awesome. I was there with him. He was proud, man. I mean, because, he busts his butt to do what he's doing and has success, and to get rewarded like that was awesome.
So then in the last couple of weeks now, who have you heard from? And especially the 2 weeks leading up to yesterday, have you heard from people that you hadn't in so long? Is this brought you back together with people in a certain way? I know you said you were kind of stranded on an island kind of in the South, but I'd imagine your phone was being used as much as ever.
Yeah. The biggest one, obviously friends, family, former teammates, like instantly, but the biggest two, the first one was Aaron Judge. We coached him in the Cape Cod League. When he was playing at Fresno State, he reached out, and for a guy like that and all the stuff that he's got going on, getting ready for spring training, I mean, he was devastated. And he only played for Alto one summer, but he knew right then and there that he was a great coach. That was a huge one. And then Tim Corbin from Vanderbilt. I mean, he's getting ready for his college season for Division I baseball, but Sunday night he reached out and sent me a long text message because Coach Corbin coached for, the Brewster Whitecaps that we've had Vanderbilt players on that team. And then he also coached for Team USA that had Vanderbilt players as well. And Coach Corbin knew how much Alto meant to me.
Can you remember, obviously this is as personal as it can be for you in the coaching community, someone that you're as close with, but you remember the college baseball world losing someone in a way that's kind of struck everybody like this perhaps has?
This is on another level, just because I think of, how it went down with Kobe Bryant, Alto and Kobe being really good friends, their daughters and stuff like that, and wives. And I mean, it was so traumatic, I think, but, we've had coaches, in the past, passed away. Augie Garrido, not too long ago. I mean, a legend. Coach Rabisho down at Louisiana Lafayette just passed away. I mean, it's tough. It's really tough when you lose mentors that helped young men and thousands of them. Not just a few. I mean, thousands of kids that they helped. When they lose their lives, it's tough.
And I believe the season opener for Orange Coast College was just a couple days after the helicopter crash of a couple weeks ago. And I believe you said there's a game just later, right after we finish recording this, you're going out there. What, do you know how it's been for the team like that? I mean, you obviously close to him, but this whole team so close to him and this happening, and then they've got to go play because that's the reason that they're going to school there, or at least part of it. So tell me what you can about that.
Just talking to the coaches that are currently on staff, the team's struggling. I mean, with all the media and everything, it's tough for those kids because they got a good club. They got a lot of great talent on that team. Coach Nate Johnson, that is stepping up as the head coach right now. He's going to do the best thing he can, and I just found this out since I've been out here. Coach Horton, former head coach at Cal State Fullerton, University of Oregon, he is retired as of last year. Last year was his last year at University of Oregon. He's here locally in Southern California. He's going to be on staff now at Orange Coast College, helping those guys out just through the grieving. And it's tough to get a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds heads locked in, and having a guy like Coach Horton's going to help out a ton.
If this conversation gets heard by many, either now or deep into the future, are there some other stories about you and Coach Alto that you really would like to be remembered and get recorded so people could hear about it as the days, weeks, months, and years go forward? What else has come to mind for you?
I mean, just as a player, he was the most, like I said earlier, he was the most consistent person I've ever met. And he was that guy that I wanted to impress and gain his respect quicker than anything. He was very, very straightforward when it came to the game of baseball. He loved guys that hustle. He loved guys that didn't showboat, that played the game smart. There's so many times. I mean, the time we won in extra innings to go to the state Final Four, because in California, they don't go to the World Series. We have our own Final Four championship up in Fresno, California. And so my redshirt freshman year, we went, and the game was so dramatic. Like the other team took the lead, we tied it up, walk off double with the slowest guy on the base, scored from first, and just seeing the excitement, because Alto did something to young men to push them that a lot of coaches don't possess. And he did it in ways to where it was fun. It wasn't screaming and yelling. It wasn't anything like that. He just pushed us and got us to play the best baseball. And I think that's why all these stories coming out about him have been just so unbelievable, because he was an unbelievable coach, let alone an unbelievable person.
A little on-air production note here as we're recording. I think your microphone, which is hanging, is hitting your hood or your beard, one of the two. I don't know. So it's try to
Is
be
that better?
mindful of that. I don't know. We'll find out here. It's not bad, but I figured
Okay.
might as well correct it for the audience.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
we'll get into your journey here in a little bit, but in the different stops along the way that you reconnected with him, you sit in the Cape Cod League. How did that come about? Is he come seeking for you? You ask him. What really led you back together in the moments that you got to work together again?
Well, ever since I got done playing and I got into coaching, he always tried to get me back home and coaching with him on staff at OCC. We talked about it a million times, but as everybody knows, Southern California is very expensive to live. And I didn't get into coaching college baseball to be a millionaire, so it was kind of tough financially for me to move back. So I remember I was sitting on the mower, and I was at Jackson State Community College, and his name popped up, and I was like, Alto, what's up? And he goes, hey man, what are you doing this summer? And I go, probably recruiting. What do you got going on? He goes, no, you're not. You're coaching in the Cape Cod with me. And I was just like, are you serious? Like, I thought he was joking. He goes, nope, you're going to be one of my assistants. And like, it was one of those things where I knew how special the Cape Cod was. But once I got out there and I got to coach with him every day and learn from him, my passion for coaching just went from 0 to a zillion. Like, it inspired me so much to continue to do what I'm doing.
And what year or years was this?
2012.
Okay.
2012. It was awesome. Brewster Whitecaps. Brewster.
That wasn't the year that the movie was recorded out there, was it? Or was that?
No,
that probably wasn't even a real players.
Well, what's funny is, like, you get out there, and are you talking about Summer Catch?
Yeah, that's
the movie.
The one.
Yeah. You get out there and you're like, all right, so where's the field in Chatham? And then you get there, you're like, oh, and then you find out the movie was filmed in North Carolina.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I was just like, I was a little bummed out, but they did have scenes of the Cape Cod and, the restaurants and stuff like that, which was fun.
Yeah, I have not made it out there yet, and I guess now's a good time to kind of transition into how we first met. I believe it was 2011 based on my records. Yep. So just the summer before, you were coaching in summer collegiate baseball, but that was in the Northwoods League, and at that time I had a position in the league's front office, and you were with, I've got the hat here, I happened to dig, that was the one thing I had time to do, the Brainerd Lakes Area Lunkers.
Lunker, yeah.
So for those watching on the YouTube will be able to see this, and those listening could find the spot to see the Lunkers hat. That was I don't know, that might have been the final year of that franchise. Brainerd, a great resort city in northern Minnesota. Probably if there's a Cape Cod-esque of Minnesota, it's probably Brainerd, but the problem is the population isn't that huge, and people really try to enjoy their summers here in Minnesota, that between either the stadium location, whether their team could have marketed better, I don't know. But every time the Northwoods League tried to have a team there, and they tried under a few different names, it just couldn't get enough fans, enough money to make it sustainable. But you were there, and that was obviously another opportunity to coach. What do you remember from that summer? And I don't know, I'm trying to think of the exact times that we crossed paths. I remember it a little. I remember you were part of like a young coaching staff, and you guys were all fun, and I enjoyed being around you, but I don't remember that many details. So tell me what you remember from that summer.
The first thing that comes to mind is the mosquitoes are no joke in Minnesota in the summertime. I mean, especially being in Brainerd with all the lakes and stuff up there. I mean, that was tough to get used to. It was just, and they it didn't matter what repellent you put on. They didn't matter. They were still going to get you, but the baseball was awesome. It was the closest thing I would say to minor league baseball. Yeah. And you're exactly right. Like the only big crowds we would get at Brainerd were on weekends when all those families were coming to, go to the lakes and the cabins up there. Such beautiful country. I mean, I loved Minnesota. I loved it. It was so much fun. Coached unbelievable guys. Actually one of the former teammates or players that was on that team, Paul Taboni, played at Cal Berkeley, is now working for the Red Sox as the director of scouting. And he was at the event last night, ran into Paul. Dan Olinger played for University of Minnesota. He was on that Brainerd team. He went the next year with me to the Cape Cod team. He was on the same Brewster team. Stephen Brault still pitching in the big leagues for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, it was an unbelievable summer. It was so much fun. A lot of games. It was closest thing to minor league baseball, but the people up in the Midwest, up in Minnesota, is what made it awesome. I mean, the fan base, the families cooking out after games and taking care of the players. It was that Minnesota nice, man. It was the Minnesota nice.
About a year ago, I used to be a broadcaster for the team in Alexandria back in the early 2000s, and Matt Jones, and perhaps you came across him at some point. He's a California coach. I had him on the podcast about a year ago, and we talked about some of these things. And then Ryan Vaz, who was the general manager for the team in Alexandria when I was there and is still involved in that league. I had him on an episode a few months ago, and they all kind of shared these baseball journeys. I want to know about yours more completely. So that was 2011. You mentioned 2012. At what point, I guess just describe at what point you're sure you wanted to be a coach, and how that path has kind of taken you up until this point, and what exactly you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, Big Guns Upstairs has definitely guided my path, because when I got done playing, I tried to do the whole independent baseball thing, professional baseball thing, and my arm was shot. But after I got done, I moved back to Nashville, and I got a job. And I graduated college in a recession, back in 2007, 2008. So jobs weren't really, you couldn't find a really good job, even with a college degree. So I worked a bunch of jobs, and I actually worked at an indoor hitting facility in Nashville. And where it all started, a family came up, and they knew I was a former collegiate baseball player. And they go, "Hey, are you doing anything this summer?" And I was like, "No, just working, And they were like, "Would you like to coach our son's 14U travel team?" And I was just like, "Okay," because I thought they were going to ask me for lessons, And I was like, "Coach, okay, yeah, like, let's do it." I signed up, had some practices. And the minute I saw those kids having fun and listening to what I've learned as a player and from amazing coaches, I was hooked. So, it just started snowballing, in fact. So I coached 14U travel team. Then I coached high school baseball in Nashville. Then after Nashville, I got to coach right into the college ranks. So, and I coached a couple summer collegiate summer ball teams in Nashville. And it just kept going. And I coached Division I for a year. And now I'm at Point University, a really good NAIA program. I've coached almost every level. I mean, the only level I haven't coached yet is Division II.
So we left it off at 2012, and now it's 2020, and you're at Point University, NAIA.
Yep.
Is there anything in that really stands out in that 8-year stretch that made you, whether it was definitely sure that you're sticking on this path, or it brought you close to maybe deciding this isn't going to work? Like, I can't imagine it's always smooth sailing when you're changing jobs every year or two or three and working your way through the college baseball ranks.
Yeah, it's a tough profession. And, a lot of young coaches, they think, "Oh, I graduated college, I played professional," whatever the case may be. They think they should just fly right into a paid job in coaching. It doesn't work that way. You gotta go through the grind of it. There was so many nights where I literally got 2 to 3 hours of sleep. When I was coaching junior college ball in Tennessee, I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods in the morning at 3:30 unloading their trucks.
Oh, wow.
So I would go from 3:30 to about 10, go to Jackson State, teach a class, go work on the field, practice, game, whatever. And then I also worked at the minor league team in town, which was the Jackson Generals AA team. Back then it was the Seattle Mariners, and I worked on their grounds crew. So I would get home at like 11, 12 o'clock every night, wake up and do it all over again. I was a walking zombie is what I was,
And everything seemed baseball related. You could have unloaded boxes at some totally random place that had nothing to do with sports if you wanted to. Probably.
Exactly. Yeah, I was sucked into Dick's Sporting Goods, man. And, it was a great company. I mean, they worked around my schedule. It was awesome. So.
And now 2020 Point University, what is your position on the coaching staff there?
I'm the associate head coach and recruiting coordinator.
So what does your year look like leading up to a season and after a season as the recruiting coordinator and an associate head coach?
Nonstop. Once again, it goes back to an Altobelli trait. I want to be the first guy there, last guy to leave. And, we recruit nationally. We got kids from all over the country since we're a private institution. So I bring in kids from California, Texas, Florida, Indiana. I need to get up in Minnesota, get some of those kids to come down south. I think they would like that.
They will.
Yeah.
We like leaving for the South every once in a while, especially in the winter.
Yeah. I mean, it's 75 degrees back at Point right now, which is crazy. But it's nonstop on the recruiting side of everything. I'm old school when it comes to recruiting. I want to see the kid with my own eyes. I want to meet the family. I want to develop that relationship so they trust me as a coach that they're signing up for the right thing. I don't email recruit. I don't believe in that. I think that's a lazy way of recruiting. But I want to try to lay my eyes on every kid that we try to sign.
Sounds like quite the journey so far. And as you're looking forward, you see a full, long career in baseball coaching. Is it going the right way for that to happen?
Absolutely. I love what I do. I love developing the relationship with the kids, watching them graduate. I've been doing it now at the college ranks for about 11 years now. And watching the kids graduate and become young men and husbands and fathers, that was a side of me when I first coached I didn't really realize would mean so much. But it's so cool seeing kids that you coach when they were 18 years old turn into men and then, and husbands and fathers. It's really awesome. I love it.
In our brief chat before we started the recording, you said that you've gotten married in the meantime. And I know in baseball, college baseball, the schedule you're describing, it can be kind of difficult to make a relationship work. But I imagine that your wife was aware of that and was up for the challenge. So describe to me how that's come together and how that's working.
Absolutely. Gianna is my best friend. I mean, that's the best way I could say it. She understood because she met me as a college baseball coach. And she loves the fact that I'm super passionate about what I do. Because she's an avid sports fan. She loves Auburn University. Anything Auburn, she's all about that life. And that's one thing I didn't really realize when I moved to the South, how intense Auburn and Alabama fans are, man. They are cutthroat. So she loves the fact that I'm passionate about putting a team together and getting kids here and winning ball games.
And you'll have to remind her that the University of Minnesota team came all the way down south and you got a big bowl victory against Auburn. I'm sure she's quite aware.
Yeah, she likes PJ Fleck because I like him. He's all about rowing the boat, man, and he's a great coach. He's a great guy.
That win probably meant a lot more for the University of Minnesota than it would have for Auburn. Auburn's going to get plenty of wins in the future. That was Minnesota.
Yeah.
Let's turn the conversation back a little bit more to the Altobelli family. You mentioned Keri, you called her Kay and Alyssa. Did you get to spend a lot of time with them over the years and describe further the bond that John had with them and the rest of the family?
Yeah, I've known Kay just as long as I knew Coach Alto. So 18 years, and she was the definition of a coach's wife. She was so invested in Alto and what he was trying to do at OCC. She got it. She understand the importance of winning and fixing stuff when you lose. She was awesome. She was tough. And then Alyssa, the little kid, man, I was there when she was born. And I watched her grow up. She was just such a ball of energy, and her smile was contagious. She was so passionate about what she did. I mean, unbelievable little basketball player. She was going to be a stud. And then JJ, I've known JJ since he was about 12 years old. Used to hit ground balls with him at the field. He would get there early, and I was always getting there early, and he was a little kid out there, and I was rifling ground balls at him. And he was a stud, and ended up playing at University of Oregon. And then Lexi, she's 16 now, going to school. She is so smart. She wants to get into a good college and help out the baseball program, like work in the office. She understands everything baseball. I mean, she's already into like Rapsodo and TrackMan and understands the technology side of baseball. Like, she's going to do big things. And, that family was so tight, and they were awesome to hang around with. And they always made you feel like family too, which was great. Like, you never had a dull moment with them.
Did you get a chance then to spend much time with JJ or Lexi and get a sense of what it's like for them and what they're going to do now, having lost three members of the family like that?
Yeah, me and my wife flew in Saturday night. Saturday afternoon. I was with JJ and Lexi Saturday night. They're strong. They got such a huge support system out here. I think JJ is doing an unbelievable job in taking care of his little sister, doing the right thing. JJ's fiance Carly is unbelievable. And I think all of us, including them, a little, obviously a lot more, just lost a dad, a mom, and a little sister. They're ready to keep the legacy alive. JJ's he's an area scout for the Boston Red Sox. And he's so smart and good at what he does. And it's because of the traits that his dad taught him, and same thing with Lexi. I mean, she loves the game of baseball because she was our little bat girl when I played. She would run out there, grab the bat, and she knew when to grab the bat and like get a foul ball. Like, she's so smart, and I can't wait to see what she does with her life moving forward.
It sounds like they raised the kids well, and I'm sure there'll be really, really big things coming. And I look forward to hearing their names down the road now that I'm familiar, because I think I was familiar with his name. I don't think he had any involvement with the Northwoods League at any point, but it seems like a name that when I heard it, I'm like, that sounds familiar, and obviously very familiar with you. And you mentioned earlier that he was close with Kobe. Was this an ongoing thing for a while, and how aware of it were you? Like, is this a regular helicopter trip that they would have taken as a family?
Yeah. I mean, Alyssa and Gigi were best friends.
Wow.
That's where it started. And
okay.
Kobe, from what I learned from Altobelli, Kobe was very, very tight with his group of friends, because I'm sure everybody wanted to hang out with Kobe Bryant, but Kobe really liked coaching Alyssa because she was coachable, she was smart, and she worked really hard at her craft. And that's one thing Alto told me, that he loved to watch Kobe coach those girls, because he was an unbelievable teacher of the game. And at that age, when you're 11, 12, 13 years old, you got to learn the game. You got to get taught the game. And that's one thing Alto said. He goes, watching Kobe coach those kids was unbelievable. Like, he was so smart, so good with them, got them locked in. And I think with Alto and Kobe, they saw each other. Kobe got to see Alto coach. Alto got to see, obviously, Kobe coach his daughter.
The academy there, did you get any sense of what's been happening since the crash, and how it's going forward with all these teams? Do you know anything about that? Because I imagine for Alto, for so many people touched in so many ways by the individuals that we lost, and that's just one of the many connections that for all those kids that were, it's like Kobe's there and Kobe's a part of it, and they get to see him, and then suddenly this happens.
I haven't been up there. It's about 45 minutes north, up in LA County. But I mean, Kobe Bryant in Southern California was a living legend. He played with one team his whole career since he was 18 years old, won numerous championships down here. So I think Southern California, let alone the world, just mourning his loss was insane, and it's sad. I mean, we're all going to be sad, and it's just how they went out was just the most horrific thing. I mean, a helicopter crash, it's tough. It's tough. And he's been taking that helicopter since he was a player.
Yep.
He would take it from Newport Beach, straight from where he lived, to the Staples Center. So he didn't have to deal with LA traffic.
Yeah, the one thing I can only hope that it happened so fast that they didn't have to think about it for very long or at all, because that's just
Yeah.
awful. Well, let's transition here. We got a few minutes before you're going to head over to that game. The personal growth segment, an
Okay.
opportunity for you to share. It can be totally unrelated to the things that we've discussed, or I guess if it's related, it can be something about your life, that a story where you realize that you had some big growth in some area and you think it might be helpful for you to share it today.
Yeah, I mean, I feel as just humans on this planet, you always got to be moving forward. You always got to be progressing in whatever you're doing. My biggest thing, and not saying I was a negative person or I was a mean person, but I always wanted to be someone that when you walked into a room, you gave good energy, great energy to people. And I think now moving forward in my coaching realm of of everything that I try to do is I want to be a good leader and a good energy for these kids. That's one thing that a lot of people talked about so far since I've been out here is the impact that this family made on a lot of people, giving out great energy, being passionate about life and not being a Debbie Downer. And that to me moving forward, I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to love life. I'm married, we want to try to have a baby here in the future. So, and the next step is being a dad. And, from what all my buddies and everybody that I've talked to, that is the best thing in life, is to be a father.
And I think the best timing to be a father for me as an outsider, not having kids, is having your own mind right, so that when you do start having kids, that you can be that positive energy as often as possible and raise a kid that can recognize that and appreciate that and carry that forward, seemingly like the Altobellis that you
Absolutely.
described. And now the being wrong segment, I recognize so many things in my life that I've changed my mind about, that I can say that the past version of myself was wrong. When I brought that up to you just a bit before we started recording here, what jumped out to you as something you've been wrong about, that you've changed your mind about, that is a story that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I mean, the first one that pops in my mind is just my style of coaching when I first got into coaching. I was the guy that kind of kicked the bucket or threw the clipboard when a kid made a mistake, and moving forward, going back to Tim Corbin, when I first got into coaching, I was fortunate enough to have not only John Altobelli giving me advice, but Tim Corbin giving me advice. And the one thing that he told me that really, kind of embedded in my head was, you will never ever coach another Stephen Brown. You won't do it. You won't coach anybody that was like you. And I was the type of player that you had to get on me for me failing. You know what I mean? You had to be that old school. That's what helped me moving forward. But ever since I got into coaching, a lot of kids they don't take screaming and yelling and, discipline the right way anymore. So now it's more goes back to that teaching side. You always got to teach the game instead of screaming and yelling at a kid for, walking a guy with the bases loaded or whatever. But for me, I just want to change my life in more of a positive, energetic, fun coach than just a guy that's always negative all the time and stuff like that. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned is I gotta be a lot more positive and teach the game more than anything else.
How old are you?
I'm going to be 36 in March.
Okay, I'm 36. I'll be 37 in March, and I think we're right kind of in that in between part, the generational gap,
Yep.
where that shifted, where like I got yelled at as a kid at times, and I didn't want that anymore. Maybe at sometimes it sparked some motivation, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I would lose respect for the person that felt that they had to yell at me. And I think so. If I'm a millennial and we're millennials, I think we are just kind of on the edge. I can see why you got that advice, that yelling and screaming at a kid just not the way to go about it generally, or maybe not at all for anyone anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and especially now, like, even if you raise your voice, your job might be online. Like, because I think parents now are way more involved in their kids' college careers than they were 15, 20, 30 years ago. So that's also another thing. But it's still you gotta teach a kid when they don't perform right or they're showing too much emotion or anything. You got to teach them the right and wrong ways. And, that's one thing Altobelli did really good at. Don't do that. Just don't ever do that again. So it embeds in your head, but we had the most insane respect for him. So the minute he did tell us something, we did it.
And that's, I think, a part of it. The yelling for me, if I've lost respect because how they handle a situation to whoever it is, then the other advice that they want to give me, it's not as likely to strike home. But if you have the full respect of the person you're trying to coach or teach or mentor, then it sets in right away. And I think the way you described it is just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love what I do. Every day I wake up, I try to get to the yard first, do all that, work on the field. I'm a green thumb. I love working on fields. But when it comes to coaching, that to me is the time that I cherish the most, for sure.
Stephen Brown, we're almost out of time, but one last thing. How is the squad this year at Point University? What do you expect from them for those that have followed the university closely in the past or in presently?
This squad is extremely special. I mean, we're off to a great start. We're 7-0, playing a lot of games on the road, which if you went on the road, that's huge. I mean, we got kids. I mean, obviously, they all knew a couple Sundays ago how much Alto meant to me. And they've rallied together. They got they got orange wristbands that say Altobelli 14 on them. They got them made for the entire team wears them. John Tyler, the head coach, Matt Thomas, and our grad assistant, Devin Skelton. I mean, they're such baseball guys, and we work really well together. And, they know I've been going through a tough time. The accident happened on Sunday. I was at work on Monday. And, and those guys are like, hey, man, you don't have to be here. And I was like, no, I got to be here. This is where I need to be. And, the team moving forward, I hope we keep it up. I hope no one gets injured, knock on some wood, So we got a good group of kids that play really hard. And I'm proud of them so far.
Stephen Brown, thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing it in short notice. And I believe there's been a lot of good messages that you've shared that you're going to carry forward, and that by us having this conversation can hit more people than they ever would have. So thank you very much.
Thanks again, Curt, man. I really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man.